Good afternoon, this is Matthew Lindsay with Precision Home Group here in Anchorage, Alaska. Coming to you live like we do every day to talk to you about real estate, business, life, and on Fridays, Matt and Alicia's show where Alicia and I open up our marriage to you and how we run 3 companies together. So today I was sitting there thinking about, hey, what are we going to talk about? You know, we can talk about real estate, we can talk about running a business, starting new businesses, networking, all this kind of stuff, right? Well, I actually had a podcast that I was a guest on this morning with Sean Idom over at Hair Science Barbershop. Now you might recall Hair Science Barbershop and Sean, he's one of my partners in Operation Reborn, and that's our charity nonprofit that we started here in Anchorage to help Anchorage's at-risk youth and homeless here in town. So we sat there, I was talking to him, we're kind of going over stories, we're kind of going over origins, we're kind of going over, how did Precision Home Group come about? How did Precision Media Group come about? And what's it like to work with your wife every day to create a life where I can work with my wife every day of the year. I get to spend so much time with her. It's awesome, amazing. I love her. And have the opportunity to spend every day with her in the office as well as at home is just a life that I've been able to create, which not many people can or have, So it's definitely a unique thing that Alicia and I have done together. But it's not always been like that. I used to never wear ties to work, right? Now I'm wearing a tie, dressing up every day, and I couldn't think of anything else. I wasn't always like this, so where did I come from? What's my story? That's what I want to dive into today. So, I might ramble at times, might go long here, so bear with me, but this is my story, where I've come from, where I'm at, and where I'm pointing to, which is most importantly, right? So, where does Matthew Lindsay come from? So, I was actually born and raised down in Washington, believe it or not. So, I grew up down there. I was born to my biological parents down there, who I don't even know. So, I was actually adopted. So I was born into a family, broken family, and taken at a very young age by the state of Washington. I was in the foster care program, going from home to homes at a young age. I was taken in by my current parents, my adopted parents, my family right now. And I was adopted at about 7 or 8. I barely remember it. Don't have many memories before that. Probably because there was just moving around so much going on in my life at that time. But I was adopted, so I grew up with that. And then I was with my adopted family, so we moved around quite a bit. Moved up to Alaska here in about beginning of high school for me. I come from a family of 6, so there's 6 of us, so 4 sisters and 1 little brother. My family called it the part 1, part 2 family. My 3 older sisters were all biological. They were my parents by birth, right? And then me, my little sister, my little brother, we were all adopted. And there was a big separation in age. My 3 older sisters are quite a bit older. Me, my little sister, my little brother are a lot closer in age, a lot younger than my older sisters. That's why the part 1, part 2 family. So we moved up, my little sister, my little brother, and myself, and my parents. We moved up in an RV. We took about 2 weeks going up to Alcan in the middle of winter. It was not a fun adventure. And so we moved up into Alaska and pretty much went to high school up here. So that was kind of my upbringing, where I came from. And, moving up into a new place during high school, definitely didn't know anybody, started school, how to build all those new relationships, how to network into a new community. So as a young kid, how to go through those struggles, right? So after that, after high school, I decided to go to the Marine Corps. All through high school, that was my only mission, my only goal. I was just wired for that, I have this mentality of action first. I have this mentality of kind of the silent type, believe it or not. Before business here, you'd never catch me on a live video. You wouldn't catch me networking with people, introducing myself, barely having a conversation. At one point in my early relationship with Alicia, she actually told me, if you don't start talking to me, we can't do this. I gotta let you go. That's how little I talk, so it was pretty funny. But going back to high school, all I wanted to do was be a Marine. So I trained for it, whether that was in the gym, whether that was doing track, cross country, all this kind of stuff to prepare me for the Marine Corps. That's all I ever wanted to do. Like I said, I was action forward, just action based. Just had that mentality, had that mindset. There's not too many people who have that quality. There's other branches out there, some easier branches out there to join, but that's all I wanted to do because it was the most difficult thing to do that I could think of, right? So that is what I wanted. So after high school, I went to Marine Corps boot camp. After Marine Corps boot camp, during that, I was actually medically dropped out due to seizures. So I was dropped out of boot camp, and at that point I was just wrecked, right? Like, just think, all you've ever want to do in life is this one thing, and then that one thing is taken away from you, and you couldn't do anything about it, right? So that's where I was. I was destroyed, I was wrecked, I was like, man, woe is me, life is over, just a terrible outlook on it, right? Well, eventually, about a year later, I found Wild and Fire. I was like, man, this is the closest thing to being a Marine that I can do without the combat, right? It had everything else. It had the crew mentality. I was on a crew of 20 guys on a hotshot crew. Here for the state of Alaska, we traveled all over Alaska, all over Canada, all over the lower 48. We'd fight wildfires, whether that was remotely, in close proximity to a city, a town, whatever it would be. We'd fight fires all over the place, in the mountains, national forests. We got a chance to fight fires all over. So it was the closest thing I could find. It was a difficult job. It was putting me in nature, putting me in a place where I can combat something. I can take actions. I could work long hours. I could, work in that crew mentality. So that was huge for me. I had a chance to do that for about 8 years. So I did that for the last 8 years, working for the state as a wildland firefighter. Much respect for anybody still doing that. I really appreciate everything that they do. And there's not much known about wildland firefighters, except maybe that recent movie that came out, which didn't really portray firefighters in the best light possible. So after high school, did the Marines, went from Marines into wildland fire. Now that's a seasonal job. So I would do that for about 9 months out of the year. And that second winter, that's when I met Alicia. Actually reconnected with Alicia. So Alicia and I actually went to the same high school together. We went out to Houston High School in Big Lake, Alaska. And we had the chance to run into each other, rekindle, re-meet, and start going out that second summer of wildland firefighting. So imagine this. You start going out with a guy who you can only really see about 3 to 4 months out of the year, because his summer schedule for 9 months out of the year is 3 weeks on, 2 days off. During those 3 weeks on, if you're on a fire, you're working 16-hour shifts and you don't have cell phone service. So if I was lucky, I'd be able to see her for a couple days a month. And those couple days a month, they could be here in Alaska, they could be in Canada, they could be in lower 48. We could take those days off wherever we were. So it was pretty difficult to start and grow that relationship, but we made it happen. Now, 8 years down the line, we're married. We've been married for about 5 years now, and it started getting really difficult. I made a commitment to Alicia when we got married that, this was for the long term. We love each other. We're here for each other. We got to support each other, and all those different vows that you make when you get married. But I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that properly. I couldn't do that effectively. I couldn't do that efficiently. So I had to make a choice, because I wasn't spending any time with her. And it was definitely getting in between us. There's a lot of firefighters that go through this, who see divorce, who see broken relationships and stuff like that. And that's not the life that I wanted, right? So I had to make a decision that, hey, I need to find something else. I need to do something else, because it's for the marriage, it's for us, and it's for our future. Because like I said, it was Alicia I made a commitment to, not fire. So we decided to look at elsewhere. We decided to start looking around. Hey, what can I do? The second aspect of leaving fire was actually income. I got to a point where, hey, I was making really good money. I loved what I was doing, but it was a state job at the end of the day. At the end of the day, I was only limited by the hours I could work, because there were certain people above me that they either had to retire or pass away for me to actually attain those higher levels take that next step in my career, right? So with those types of people in there that weren't going to pass away anytime soon, weren't going to retire anytime soon, I was stuck. Maybe if I stayed there for the next 10 years, I might be able to see some movement, right? Or move to different parts of the state or the country that I didn't really want to move to just to get a job to make a couple bucks an hour more. It wasn't worth it to me. So I knew I had to go find something. Now, in the winter times, I mentioned fire was a seasonal job, right? So in the winter time, there was about 4 to 5 months off. Now, when Alicia was going to school, she went to school in Washington State, and I would go spend winters with her. Now, during these winters, I would do odd jobs, most of them revolving around property management. So for a couple of those winters, I was in Seattle working property management in high-rise condos, high-rise apartments, big buildings, 100+ units and things like that. So with that being said, that's where I got my first taste of real estate. I became very passionate about it. I loved it. I loved everything about it, I just love that you can go change something. It's a real asset. You can touch it. You can change it. You can implement things in it. You can create income off of it. So I was looking at that. I was like, man, I knew I wanted to get into real estate. So that's the first thing I went to after I left fire, and I decided, hey, I'm going to get into real estate. Much different here in Alaska, just because we don't have those big or as many multifamily properties. So I said, okay, I want to get into sales, not necessarily property management. So that's when I joined a real estate team here in Alaska. So I joined the team, I learned a lot. There's a lot of great lessons learned, some good networking, and I was able to learn some of the basics and fundamentals of selling real estate here in Alaska. But at the end of the day, I wanted to control my income to the utmost, have total control of that, and be able to, also build out my own team, my own business, do my own thing. So what we did from there is I left that team that I started with, and I started my own company. And that's where Precision Home Group comes from. So, when I was working fire, I was pretty small-minded. I was like, hey, if I can just make a little bit more, right? Maybe if I could get a fourplex, I would be set. Maybe if I could make $75,000 in a year, I'd be set. So, I grew my mindset, I grew my goals, but it was still pretty small. Once I got a taste of what I could do in real estate, once I got an idea of, hey, what real wealth could be, what I can actually do, hey, I can control my outcome by the actions that I take, the things that I do, the network that I build out. That goal of, hey, $75,000 or a fourplex just blew up. I quickly realized those were too small of goals, too small of mindset, that I had to change that. I had to grow it. I had to produce more. So that's why I started Precision Home Group. So Precision Home Group started with just me. Alicia was still working another job. I started Precision Home Group as a single agent here at RE/MAX. I quickly realized, hey, there is so much going on. I got all this administrative, I got all this, prospecting, all the showings, the listings, all this kind of stuff, all the marketing with real estate, that, if I try to do this all myself, I'm going to cap myself out and I'm not going to grow. So I realized I had to start a team. So I went from firefighter to joining a team to single agent to realizing quickly I had to start my own team. So that's what I did. So Alicia came on board. We got her licensed in January. And so she's a fully licensed real estate agent, joined the team. So it was Alicia and I at first. She was still doing the marketing, working with some of our buyers, and I was still doing all of the sales and admin work. Well, about a little over a month ago, we brought on a full-time transaction coordinator. That's Mackenzie Tubbs. And you can see her in a lot of our content and comments and stuff. So she's able to help us with that. So as you can see, we start building out the team. I also got 2 more agents we're starting to bring on here pretty soon. So we're starting to build out the sales team as well. So Precision Home Group started as this idea a little less than a year ago. And now it's grown and grown, and we've been able to produce more and more and more. And we're going to continue to do so. So that is my story. That's how Precision Home Group got started. Now, why it got started is not just my income goals. It's not just me. It's not just Alicia. It's not just, what we wanted to do. We actually wanted to see a change in the real estate industry. We want to help bring that change in innovative ways. We want to set the standard of high ethics here in real estate. Not that we're saying, hey, the real estate industry is not ethical. It's not what we're saying. We're just saying we want to help push that level even higher. We want to bring the standards up. We want to bring the norm up. We want to bring the average up, and we want to be able to do that by setting the standard with Precision Home Group. So that is our goal. We want to be able to help millions of people get into real estate investments. We want to be able to share that with our clients. So that's how Precision Home Group got started. Now, about 6 months ago, we also decided, hey, we're doing pretty good at this marketing. We're doing so well, we're also paying a lot for outside resources. So we decided to bring all of our marketing in-home, all the real estate photography, all of the videography, all the social media stuff. And we decided to start Precision Media Group, which was our third company. So our first one is Precision Home Group. Well, actually our first one is Matthew Lindsay Photography. That's Alicia's photography business. Our second one is Precision Home Group, and our third one is Precision Media Group. And so we do a videography or a video services for events and for real estate. We do photography, mostly for real estate, but if you're looking for portraitures, fashion shoots, any type of stuff like that, that goes to our Matthew Lindsay line, and she takes care of all of that. And we do social media, so we'll help people take over their social media content. We have packages for that, as well as growth. Growth campaigns and helping you build ads and stuff like that to get your social media game strong, right? Because that's what we want to see. So that's my story. That's how I got a start in Precision Home Group, Precision Media Group, and Matthew Lindsay Photography, what my background is. If you have any questions, let me know. I just thought that, hey, you guys see me a lot. You guys see me dressed up. I wasn't always this way. How did I get this way? And being transparent with you. So thank you for joining. If you have any questions at all, let me know. Drop your comments below. I will get back to you. And thank you for joining.